All right. So what I need for everyone to do, and I will give you a few minutes, is there is a form that I need for you to fill out. And what this form is, it is collecting your name, your address, phone number, your language, and there is a very short quiz, so I will know your English level, okay? I want you to complete this now, so you do the first part. When you come down here to the bottom, you will click on the link to do the second part and then submit. So this way I can mail you out your books this week, okay? I have books. Let me get them.
Okay.
I have all the books.
Okay.
So this will allow me to have your address and information on file so that I can send you your books, okay? So give me a second. I'm going to put this, and let me stop sharing. Okay, there we go. I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to put this in the chat. Give me 1 second. Hello, Roxana. How are you? Okay. Good evening. So if you can, please fill out that form. I sent it via text, but I was not sure if you understood what I was asking. So please fill that out so that I have your name, your address, phone number, and there is a very short quiz so that I can assess your English language proficiency, okay? And then we will get started. Okay, any questions? We're good?
I need to do now?
I can give it to you before the end of class.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. All righty. So let me turn on my light here. Okay. So our new book that we are going to read, and I don't like this background because you can't see. And I don't think that's any better. Give me 1 second. Virtual background. Let's just say none. Okay. All right. So here is the book that we are reading this time, Things Not Seen. Okay. Miss Aguilar, were you with us last summer when we read the first book?
No.
No? Okay, no problem. All right. So this is our new book. It is a really good book. It is written by Andrew Clements. Okay. And let me share my screen. Okay. So our fall book club is Things Hoped For, and I might have said Things Not Seen because this is book 2 of a 3-book series. We read the first book in the summer of 2022. We're in 2022. Okay. So it is written by Andrew Clements, and we're going to talk about a few things today as we get started, okay? As always, if you have questions, you are welcome to come off of mute and ask those questions, okay? All right. In our story, as we get started with chapters 1 and chapters 2, we have 3 main characters to start our story. We have Gwendolyn, her grandpa, and his brother, Uncle Hank, Okay. In this story, as we read, Gwendolyn is a teenager who is living with her grandpa in New York, in Manhattan, to be exact. And there is some tension between her grandpa and her uncle Hank, his brother. Okay. Our story takes place in New York City. Hello, Manuel. How are you?
I'm good. How are
Good.
you?
I am good. Welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Has anyone ever been to New York?
No.
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 I have never been to New York. I would love to go to New York one day. So our story takes place in New York City. Her grandpa lives in a brownstone. So in big cities like New York and Chicago, they have brownstones. If you've ever been to Washington, D.C., you may see some brownstones there. They kind of remind you of apartments. And some may be apartments or some may be like townhome apartments. Okay. Gwendolyn is from West Virginia. So she used to live in West Virginia with her mom, dad, and I want to say brothers and sisters. And this is a picture of what West Virginia may look like. Okay. So she moves from West Virginia to New York as we start our story. Okay. So I wanted to give you that background information. So as we read through the story, it kind of paints the picture in your head. Okay. In this story, Gwendolyn plays the violin. Okay. Because she plays the violin, there will be a lot of vocabulary that deals with artists who play classical music. And here are a few artists that she is going to talk about in chapters 1 and a little bit in chapters 2. Okay. You may have heard of Bach, Pagan. These are just a few. And if we need to listen to some classical music, I can play some classical music for you. Okay. All right. Again, our characters. And then we're going to get started. I'm going to come out of this screen and open up our book. Let me get it. Nope. Hold on one second. Nope, that is Hush. Did I close it out? No. Let me find it. I apologize. It was on the internet. Nope. What did I do with it? 1 second. All right, let me go back to my email and pull it up. I think okay, here we go. I don't want to listen to it. I want to open up the book. There we go. View details. When you think you are prepared, It always seems like nothing seems to go the way you expect for it to go. Read now. Now, I know I had this book. Here we go. All right. There we go. All right. As always, can you see the screen with the book? You can. All right. I will start. And again, before you leave today, I will provide you with the link to get your registration information. So I have your name, address, phone number, and you will take the brief quiz. Once I get that, I can mail you your book this week. So you will have your book for next Tuesday's class, okay? All right. Chapter 1. They say a sudden shock makes your whole life pass by before your eyes. I can only speak for myself. In my case, they are correct. At this moment, my mind is a DVD player. I'm going to show you a picture of a DVD player. And all my days are there, scene after scene, queued up for easy viewing, except for the thumping in my chest makes the pictures crackle and hiss. I scan and then focus. I can see a steep ravine in West Virginia, a young girl, me, running barefoot through a hickory grove, playing tag with my little sisters, not a care in the world. That was over 10 years ago. I push fast forward, then play. And there I am at age 14, 3 years ago, alone in my bedroom, sawing away at my violin, imagining myself in an orchestra on the stage of a grand concert hall. And outside my bedroom, scattered around the rest of the house, I can feel my parents and my brothers and my sisters being driven slowly insane by my constant practicing. Does anyone play an instrument? Has anyone ever played an instrument before?
No.
No? Do your children
No.
play an instrument?
Yeah, my children, in the school, the viola.
The viola, okay. Does
Yes.
Does your child practice
Yes, in the school,
in the school?
in the middle school. Yes.
In the middle school? My son plays the drums.
Yes. Oh.
So when he practices at home, we're like, stop, because he plays the drums all the time. So sometimes when children are practicing an instrument, or if they may sing, it may not be perfect in the beginning. So the people around you may feel annoyed or tired of the noise. She says, I punch fast forward. So in this part of the story, she is remembering when she lived in West Virginia with her family, with her mom and with her dad, okay? So she is painting a picture in her head and rewinding back to when she lived in West Virginia. Because sometimes, even as adults, we remember when we were growing up as little kids. We may remember when we were home with our parents or families. Those can be good memories, or they could be sad or bad memories, okay? She says, I punch fast forward. So it's almost like in her head, she is pressing fast forward to speed up time. I punch fast forward again till today, then slow advance. Before I can get a better look at what happened this afternoon, maybe things will make more sense. Maybe my heart will stop pounding. Maybe I'll be able to breathe. And on the small screen in my mind, I see myself scurrying along 109th Street. The word scurrying means to move very fast, okay? I see myself arrive home from my violin lesson. It's about 3:30. I'm sure of that because Manhattan School of Music is about 13 blocks away, and my lesson ended a little after 3. It's a cloudy day in February, so we are in the month of February in our story. And in February, if you think in Georgia, is February hot or cold here in Georgia? What is the
Cold.
weather like? Cold, yes.
Cold.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's getting like a little colder.
Mm-hmm. So if she is in New York City, what do you think the weather is like? Could the weather be hot or cold in New York? Is it hot?
In February, it's cold.
It's cold, yeah. It may even be snowing.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. She says, it's a cloudy day in February with the wind whipping across the Hudson. The Hudson is a river, the Hudson River, and into the city. So I want to get out of the cold. I can feel the cold. My heart is racing and I can't catch my breath. I'm sweating as I remember, but I can feel the cold. And I start up the front stoop of my grandfather's brownstone. Remember, the brownstone is like, it looks like an apartment building. It's made out of bricks. There are 9 steps, 1, 2, 3, but I stop because I can hear the yelling, all the way through the brick walls and the triple pane windows. I can hear the yelling. I know that voice. That's Grandpa's younger brother, my Uncle Hank, great Uncle Hank, excuse me. There's usually yelling when Uncle Hank comes over, which isn't often, thank goodness. Not until recently. He lives on Staten Island, which is almost as far away as Connecticut. Grandpa says he owns a recycling business down there. And within one memory, I am suddenly having another about the day I met my great Uncle Hank. For the first time 18 months ago, he said exactly 5 words to me. You must be Gwen, right? Right. I am Gwen. I was named after Grandpa's wife, Gwendolyn Page, my dad's mom. So Gwendolyn is named after her grandmother. She taught writing and literature at City College for 34 years. And I can hear my dad tell it. She was the one bright light in Grandpa's life. And when grandmother died 3 years ago, everyone thought Grandpa would leave New York City, maybe move down to live with us in West Virginia. But Lawrence Page was tougher than that. So Lawrence Page is grandfather's real name, okay? And he stayed put. Grandpa says he owns some real estate properties in Queens. And then 2 years ago, Grandpa invited me to come north and stay at his home in Manhattan so I could study music there, an offer that seemed to come out of the blue. But I think my dad must have told Grandpa about me and my violin. And maybe Grandpa wanted some company too. All I know is that the invitation arrived just in time to keep me and the rest of my family from going completely crazy. Have you ever moved in with a family member before? Has anyone ever lived with a family member and moved to a new city or state?
No.
No, I did. I moved with my dad when I was in 7th grade. I moved from Alabama to North Carolina. The first day I met Uncle Hank, when he asked me if I was Gwen, I didn't answer him. I only nodded. And that seemed to set the tone for our relationship. So when she met Uncle Hank, she didn't say anything. She just nodded her head. She nodded or nod. Ever since, when we see each other, we nod. My dad told me that Hank was a great guy, but I thought he'd be warmer toward me, like a real uncle. In old photos of him, my dad and grandpa on fishing trips, Uncle Hank always has this big grin on his face, standing there between them with his arms across their shoulders. Must have been happier times. The word uncle, can anyone tell me the word uncle in Spanish? Is it tío?
Yes, tío.
So Uncle Hank, all right, is tío. But I'm still reviewing the yelling noise. So she's still remembering the yelling. And me standing there on the front steps of my grandfather's house on Thursday, earlier today, in the cold. I shiver and I see myself turn around, go back to the sidewalk, and duck on the left of the stoop. So she gets home from her violin lesson, but she does not go in the house. She's standing at the door, listening to her grandfather and great uncle arguing back and, well, arguing, her uncle is. So she decides not to go into the house. She decides to leave, but she goes downstairs. She says, I go back to the sidewalk, duck to the left of the stoop, take 3 steps down, and put my key into the lock on the iron gate. I swing it slowly so the hinges don't squeal, then close it slowly behind me. So in our story, I want to show you something really quickly. So when she goes home, she is, so this is a brownstone. So she is standing outside, but you see this gated area right here? It's the basement part of the brownstone. So she comes back downstairs and goes down here and unlocks the gate, goes downstairs, and there is the basement. So in brownstone homes, like homes we have here in Georgia with a basement, most basement homes in Georgia, we go down the stairs in the house. Well, in this case, she can access the basement from outside going down these side steps. So that's what she does. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So let's come out of this and let's go back to our story. Okay, there we go. All right. I shiver. Hold on, let me make it larger. All right. Nod. Here we go. I unlock the door and push it open. I'm planning to slip inside, walk around the hallway back to the basement door. Hold on. Here, let me start here. But I'm still reviewing the yelling scene and me standing there on the front steps of my grandfather's house on Thursday, earlier today in the cold. I shiver and I see myself turn around, go back to the sidewalk and duck to the left of the stoop, take 3 steps down and put my keys into the lock of the iron gate. I swing it in slowly so the hinges don't squeak. Then I close it softly behind me. And then it's like I'm in a small jail cell below the steps. The iron gate is on my left. There is a stone wall on my right. And in front of me is the door to the ground floor of the house. I unlock the door and push it open. I'm planning to slip inside, walk along the hallway back to the basement door, and then creep down underground to the place I use as a practice studio. I can go to that soundproof room and play my violin anytime I want to. So this practice studio is soundproof. So she can go down there and play the violin anytime she wants, and no one hears the noise in the rest of the house. It's what we call soundproof, okay? During these past 3 months, I have spent at least 5 hours a day in there, rehearsing for my college auditions. I need that quiet little room. The endless rehearsals is frustrating because the music is so difficult. Lost my place. Because it's so difficult. But when I finally break through and get it right, then all those maddening hours melt away like a dream. And I'm wide awake. And it feels like Bach and Sabius or Pagan is right there in the room with me. These names, they are classical composers. Bach is a name that we may have heard of before. The other two I have not heard a lot about. So at 3:30 on Thursday afternoon, I want to warm up my fingers and get on my work. My whole life has been building towards these tryouts, and I wish I could go down to the studio and practice. But the look on my face shows that I can't stand being home when Uncle Hank invades. During the past months, he's come at least twice a week. And he yells from the moment he arrives until the second he leaves. And he always yells about the same thing. He wants Grandpa to sell the building, this house. It's a 4-story brownstone, like the places you see when you show the outside of the house from the Cosby Show reruns. Grandpa and Uncle Hank are joint owners of the building, but their father's will says Grandpa can live there and collect the rent money as long as he wants to. So Grandpa and Uncle Hank own the house that Grandpa lives in. So when Uncle Hank comes to visit, he is trying to convince Grandpa to sell the house so that they can collect the money. Because as long as Grandpa lives in the house, he can rent out the other parts of the house and collect the money from it. And Uncle Hank does not like that. So Uncle Hank yells that Grandpa has to sell, that it is unfair not to sell it. He yells that Grandpa is selfish, stubborn old man, that each of them, Lawrence and Hank, could walk away with $1 million, maybe more. Uncle Hank isn't exaggerating about the money. That means he's not making it up about how much money that they could make. A building like this in New York City is worth every penny. So if they sell the brownstone, they can make a lot of money, but Grandpa doesn't want to sell. So Uncle Hank yells and yells and yells. But Grandpa doesn't yell back. It's never an argument. Grandpa just says no, quietly. The louder Hank yells, the more quietly Grandpa says no. He won't argue, and he won't raise his voice. I don't know if Grandpa even could raise his voice. These days, just walking without coughing is hard enough for him. If I went down to the basement and if I closed all the doors behind me, and if I shut myself up into my rehearsal room, I wouldn't be able to hear the yelling, but it would still be going on, and I would know that. I would feel that, like the cold. I see myself make a decision. I set my violin case just inside the door. I drop my backpack, unzip my pouch, and grab a book. Then I go to the door, relock it, out the iron gate, relock it, step up onto the sidewalk, and turn right toward Broadway. So after she's been home, she decides that the yelling and the fighting is too much. So she takes a book out of her book bag and she leaves the house. There is a cafe a half a block away, a place where I can be by myself and still have people around. Hot cocoa and a good book and the smell of fresh coffee. Much nicer than yelling. And there I am alone at the cafe on Thursday. I'm reading a collection of poems by William Butler Yeats again for the third time this month. I don't know why I'm stuck on Yeats. I want to zoom in. Let's see. No, it's too close. All right. There are hundreds of books in Grandpa's study. It used to be Grandmother's study too. And she's the one who arranged all the books by genre and then by the author's last name. So Grandma arranged the books by, let's say, for example, comic books, mysteries, romance, thrillers. So Grandma arranged all of the books, okay, so that they were in some type of order. Are there any questions so far before I keep going? Are we good? Y'all are quiet.
I'm good.
You're good? Okay. Claudia, you're
Yes.
good?
Yes.
Manuel, you're okay?
Okay. Yes.
All right. I only met my grandmother once at Christmas when I was 5. She wrote in some of the books, no words, just penciled check marks and sometimes an exclamation point. It's not much to go on, but I think I would have liked to know her better. Reading is the perfect break from the caprices and the partices and the sonatas and the scales and the progressos. Now these terms right here are music terminology. These words all have to do with music. Scales, when you think of scales, in music, you have notes, do, re, mi, fa, sol. Those are scales. So she's talking about reading allows her to take a break from playing music all of the time, okay? So she likes to go away to the cafe to read because it allows her to relax, okay? I'm preparing for my auditions. And a few months ago, I decided it would be good to read my way through the novels. I started with A for Austen, and I read Pride and Prejudice, which is so good that I immediately read it again. A lot of these books that she is reading are they're older books. Have you ever seen On Netflix, there is a television series, Bridgerton. Have you watched Bridgerton?
No.
No?
No.
No? Okay, let me show you.
Oh.
Come here. Let's see. All right. So in the books that she is reading, they are older book characters. So this is what some of the characters look like in the book. So this is Pride and Justice, Wuthering Heights, and Lord Jim. So these are actual books that she is talking about that she has read from her grandparents' library. So in their house, they have a lot of books. So these are just some of the books that she has read from their library, okay? All right. All right. So she's read Pride and Justice, which was so good that I immediately read it again. Then came Wuthering Heights, B for Bront. And I even got to Lord Jim, C for Conrad, and Robinson Crusoe, D for Defoe. But I am constantly telling my own story to myself. And these days, that's about all the narrative I can handle. I think that's why I shifted to poetry and why I am hooked on Yeats. It's the density that I love, even though I don't get half of his symbols. What I do get is that he looks at life around him, and then he goes inward, digging until he finds something true. And I like how he's always imagining the world coming to an end. And I love his sadness and his loneliness. Thank you, Miss Page, for that sparkling literary commentary while your heart is whopping away. Because I'm still viewing the afternoon scene, still trying to catch my breath, and I can see myself settling into a booth with my book and my cocoa and some lemon cake. So even though she's at this at this cafe to sit and read and to drink her cocoa, in her head, she is still remembering what happened at home, the yelling between her grandpa and great uncle. Okay. And then I glance up because I hear a voice through the glass out on the street. Taxi? I know that voice. I see Uncle Hank climb into a cab, see it turn across traffic and head south on Broadway. The yeller is gone. So while she is sitting in the cafe about to read her book, she hears a familiar voice. She hears Uncle Hank. He's leaving and going back to Staten Island. It is on a Thursday afternoon. It's safe to go home, but I don't. I have decided I need this break. I read and I sip and I nibble. And almost 2 hours pass in the cafe shop while I sail to Bronson and then to the Lake Isle of Innisfree. And then I go riding with the banshees with Nama, yelling, away, come away. So she's reading all of these poems in this Yeats book. The next time I look up from my book, it is getting dark. And I need to go home and cook supper for Grandpa because that's one of the few things he lets me do for him. And in my mind, I see myself go up all 9 steps this time. And my heart beats even faster now because I already know what happens next. I unlock the heavy oak door with the frosted glass and let myself into the entryway where the staircase leads up to the 3rd and 4th floors. A tenant has sorted today's mail. And after I unlock the door that opens from the hallway into Grandpa's parlor, I pick up our pile from the narrow table. There's a letter to me from my mother. Inside, there is only one light on. The brass lamp with the green glass shade that sits on Grandpa's huge desk in the study. Hold on. Okay. His bedroom door is shut and there's no answer. I walk through the parlor and into the study and put the mail on the desk. And I see the blinking light on the answering machine. And I push the button and Grandpa begins to speak. On Thursday, today. So when she goes into the house to prepare to cook Grandpa dinner, she does not see Grandpa in the house. But she notices on the answering machine, when she presses the button, she hears a message from Grandpa. Hello, Gwenny. I hope you had a good day. There's no easy way to say this, so I'm going to tell you straight out. I need to go and stay somewhere else for a long time. I'm not sure, for how long, I'm not sure. I know this is sudden, but I have to leave right now today. And I have to ask you to do something for me. I want you to keep the house going while I am away. Then Grandpa coughs, a deep cough. I can tell he's turned away from the phone, but it's still loud. It hurts to listen. I've heard that cough a lot over the past 3 weeks, but he won't let me mother him. I have to pretend I don't see how he struggles. Grandpa begins again. So she is listening to this voicemail. You know how you get a voicemail on your phone from your family when they call you and you don't answer? Grandpa has left her a voicemail. This is a lot to ask, Winnie. I know that, but it's the best I can do on short notice. I need to go right now, and I know you need to stay here. It's a hard situation, but we've both got to make the best of it. Now, this is important. Please don't tell anybody I've gone, especially Hank. I haven't changed my residence, but if he thinks I have, then he'll try to make something of it. Just steer clear of him. And please don't judge him too harshly. Hank's having a tough time right now. Even so, I don't want him taking it out on you. And I don't think we should let anybody know that a high school girl is living here all on her own. I know you'll be fine, and you know it too. But others might not see it that way. So it'll be best to not tell anybody for now. I know this is a lot to bite off, but I don't think you could do this. But if I didn't think you could do this for me, I wouldn't be asking. And I'm asking, and I thank you. Grandpa coughs again, and again, it's hard for me to listen. Then he goes on. You know where I keep the ATM card? And you know the PIN number. There's money in the savings account if you need to transfer more. And I signed some checks in the blank folder. Second drawer of my desk. Gas and electric. Bills like that get paid straight from the bank. Can't say what you need checks for. Hard to know. But you treat that money like it's yours. And you get whatever you need. There ought to be enough to last you through the stretch. Well, I've got to get going. This business with Hank is tricky. So I'm not going to tell you where I'm staying. Not just now. And I might be out of touch a while, but don't worry. And that's in order. You just keep about your own business and leave all the worrying to me. I love you, Gwenny. Goodbye now. I listened to Grandpa's message again and then a third time, trying to understand, trying to breathe slowly, trying not to shiver. And now, I am sitting at Grandpa's desk. with one lamp burning. The street lights are on outside, and a pale orange glow seeps through the tall front shutters. In this city of 10 million people, I am alone. Can you imagine? Her grandfather has left her in this house alone. She does not know how long he's going to be gone. She doesn't even know where he is at. And she's only 17 years old. How would you feel if you were Gwen? Would you be scared?
Yes, I will be scared, sad,
Huh?
and because like I wouldn't know what to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I cannot imagine being 17 and alone by myself.
Yeah.
Scary, huh?
Yeah.
Does this first chapter make you excited about reading the book?
Yeah.
Yes, because it starts telling the story like how I forgot her name.
Gwen?
Yes, because it says first how when grandpa's leave her alone with herself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyone else? Thank you, Manuel. Anyone else
You
have any feedback so
Can you
far?
hear me?
Miss Murley, what'd you say? Miss Aguilera?
excuse me, ma'am.
Uh-huh.
Can you hear my mom?
No, she's on mute.
O estás
There you go. You're off mute now. But I can't hear you though. Miss Roxana?
Yes.
Do you have any feedback?
Well, no, that's my first time, so I
Well,
understand a little bit.
okay. You can't hear me. No, Miss Murley, I can't. What you can do, are you in the room with your son? He can unmute and you can talk from his computer. But I can't. If you want to, you can type it in the chat. Hi, Miss Laura. All right. Y'all want to keep going and read chapter 2?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I'm excited. I can't wait. Like when I was reading this a few weeks ago, it caught my attention just from chapter 1. And sometimes books can be very slow to get started, but not this book. All right. We're going to read chapter 2 and then we'll stop there and we'll talk about next week and we'll talk about how I will send you your book. Okay? Some of you were not on when we got started. So what happened in our last book club, I purchased the books. So I have books, but I need for you to fill out the form and do the quiz so I can know your English level, so I know how I can support you. So once you fill that out tonight and I get your address, I will mail you a book. I have a lot of books. Okay? All right. Chapter 2. Would anyone like to read? Let me ask, because some may want to read, and that's okay if you do.
Can I read?
Yes. Give me 1 second. All right, go ahead.
After I listen to Grandpa's message, my mind does not want to obey me. So I pointed toward the green hills and the warmth of West Virginia. Thinking of home always calmed me down. And the first thing I picture is my 2 little sisters and my 2 big brothers, and my dad and my mom. Mama always says I'm the brave one. I can see her face on the day I tell her I want to go study music in New York. Mama could never imagine leaving her home when when she and
Right there.
when
Dad.
she and Daddy got married. He moved south so she could stay put close to where she was born and raised. And when I tell her I want to go and live with Grandpa, she is
Mystified. So mama doesn't understand
Mr.
why she wants to go move away.
Oh, but not surprised. I'm the brave one. For me, living West Virginia didn't feel brave, more like necessary. But in 5 years, because when I started junior high school,
Right
I
here.
liked nickel.
Hold on 1 second. So right here, but it wasn't like you skipped this line, baby.
Oh,
It's okay.
but it wasn't like left all at once. I left molecule
Molecule by molecule.
molecule by molecule over a period of 4 or 5 years. Because I started junior high school, I like nickel career and the next kid, but then I discovered
Hold on. Right here.
and wait, I can't. It's so small. Wait, let me zoom in.
1 second. Let's see.
Oh, okay.
Hold on 1 second. Let me. I want to change it. Okay, is that better?
Yes,
Start right here. I liked Nickel Creek and the
I
Charlie
Nickel
Band.
Creek and the Charlie Daniels Band and the fiddle playing of Alison Krauss as much as the next kid. But then I discovered Bach and Mozart and the rest of the gang. And the next of the gang and classical music began pulling me away from the mountains and away from the deep woods and the rushing streams, and finally away from my family and friends in West Virginia. I started out liking the fiddle, but I fell in love with the violin,
Okay, keep going.
and I can thank Mr. Richard for that. The music teacher at my junior high school, he let me borrow some of this CTS artists like it's it
Sorry.
it's had
Perlman,
Perlman
Joshua.
Perlman and
Mhm.
Joshua Bell and my majority and the majority,
Uh-huh.
and after 4 or 5 lessons with him, he convinced me
Like,
folks I had some real talent.
mhm.
And then Mr. Richards helped me find a violin teacher in Charleston, and I was well and truly on my way away from West Virginia. So by the time Grandpa offered me free room and board in New York, the change the change was almost complete. I had to follow my new music. Mama understood, and so did Daddy. They they didn't want to see me go, but they understood.
Okay, thank you.
It wasn't bad.
Go ahead.
Still, it wasn't bravery.
Mhm.
that pushed me north. It was more like a survive. Uh,
Hold on. I was trying to slide it up. Give me 1 second.
okay.
It's changing my page. Okay, we're right. Let me zoom in. Hold on.
It was more like a survival instinct. The move was inescapable, but the journey wasn't without fear. Even though it happened almost 2 years ago, the feelings are still with me. On that early August morning, when I take my seat in the bus and turn to wave goodbye to my family, I think this must be the hard part. Then 5 hours later, the bus goes across the state line up into Pennsylvania, and I think, no, this is the hard part. I sleep and I wake just as the bus dives like a whale into the Lincoln.
Hold on 1 second, Manuel. Miss Murley, can you turn your volume down? Are you in the same room with Manuel?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Have your mom turn down her volume because it's echoing.
Yeah, she already went to another room.
She did? Okay. Thank you. All right. Keep going, sweetheart.
Uh,
Right here.
I
You can
slept and I wake.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. I slept and I wake.
I slept and I wake just as the bus dives like a whale into the Lincoln Tunnel, and then it plunges
Plunges.
up
The bus is on a so what the
plunges
bus is doing is it's on the road, going up and down along the road
uh,
through the tunnel.
up and now into the gray air of the city. The harpooned bus spins around, spins around and around, and comes to a gasping stop on the floor of the Port Arthur terminal. I
Authority.
climb out Jonah
Mhm.
with a suitcase and a cheap violin, and I glidle down four escalators to the street, and I climb into a yellow taxi, and I zoom 60 blocks north to New York City. And I think this has to be the hard part.
Hold on 1 second, Manuel.
And then,
Hold on. Let me fix the screen.
okay,
Give me 1 second. I want to go here. Let's see. But it keeps changing my page. Hold on.
I can see it right there.
You can see it? Okay, go ahead. Right here at the
And
bottom.
then a week later, I got my first day of classes in LATAM Academy of the Performing Arts.
Mhm.
And all the kids look at me and smile at my Charleston accent, and then I have to stand up and play a solo for our orchestra conductor, and I think, no, this must be the hard part.
Right. Thank you, Manuel. Good job. So what she is doing is explaining what happened before she moved to New York. She talks about how her mother thought that she was brave because her mother only wanted to stay in their small town in West Virginia. And so, because her daughter, Gwendolyn, wanted to move away, her mother felt like she was brave because she was willing to leave and go somewhere new that she did not know. So, Gwendolyn, over the course of 5 years, she moved a little bits of her stuff at a time. So sometimes when people move, they take all of their stuff and they move. In this case, she does not. She takes a few items at a time over 5 years to move all of her things. Okay. Thank you, Manuel, for reading. All right.
You're welcome.
I will read next, and then if someone wants to read, I'm gonna try to zoom in. And it was hard because I hated soloing. So when she got to her new school, because she is from West Virginia, her accent, when she talked, the kids looked at her kind of funny. But once she got up to play her solo, and a solo means she played her instrument by herself, all by herself in front of the entire class. When she played her instruments, the students had an opportunity to see how talented she was. So they no longer made fun of her or picked at her because she was new or because of her accent or the way that she talked. Once she played, they knew that she was very talented as a musician. Okay. And she says, it was hard because I hated soloing. The only thing good is that once the other kids heard me play, no one cared how I talked anymore. So can you imagine being 13 or 14 years old, moving away to a new city, a new state, and kids can be mean. So the kids are probably saying things about her because of the way she talked. If you think how sometimes when we go to different places, if you've ever been outside of Georgia and you go different places, the way you talk may sound different, or the way other people may talk may sound different. It's what we call having an accent, okay? Sometimes when people come from up north down to the south, like Georgia, Alabama, or Florida, they say we have a Southern accent, or the way that we talk sounds different from another area, okay? She says, all that is past a year ago last September, and I am here still sitting at Grandpa's desk on Thursday today. I guess my mom is right. I don't frighten easily, but as the answering machine winds and rewinds at this moment, I do hope and pray that I have finally come to the hard part. And of course, I'm pretty sure I haven't. Grandpa and I don't talk much, but over the past year and a half, we've gotten used to each other. He has his routines and I have mine. I know he likes having me around. He doesn't say that out loud, but he's been so kind, mostly little things, but some big ones too, like the practice room. Hold on. Like the practice room. I'm gonna try to move this up. It's not gonna move up. Let me zoom out. There we go. Like the practice room. That was huge. I'd been here for 2 weeks. One morning, he says, there's a carpenter coming over to fix a room in the basement for you. Grandpa said he didn't want to have to hear me playing all the time. And there was probably some truth to that, but it was more. It was a gift. He didn't want me staying late at Latham or wasting time walking back and forth to the practice room at the Manhattan School of Music. He wanted to have a safe, quiet place to work. And he made sure the carpenter got everything just right. A gift. I've always felt Grandpa's presence in the next room or down the hallway or up a flight of stairs. We both like being alone, but we enjoy being alone together. Sometimes I sit next to him and we watch Wheel of Fortune. Once he asked me to read a chapter of Lord Jim out loud. And 2 or 3 nights a week, we have our bedtime snack together. Simple moments. And I already missed that. Sitting here in this worn leather desk chair on this Thursday night, I am trying to understand what Grandpa has asked me to do. He wants me to pretend he's still here. When we go on vacation, my dad hooks up 2 timers to the lights. They turn on and then off, and the house looks lived in. And Grandpa wants me to do that same thing here, now, because of Uncle Hank and this valuable building. That makes sense. I think I understand that part. So she's trying to understand what is going on. She's trying to understand why her grandfather has left her alone in this house. I would be scared. When I'm home by myself and it's me, my 2 kids, and my husband, when they leave and it's quiet, I think I hear noises in the house. So I go around the house and I turn on all the lights. But she's 17 years old and he left her all alone. And it occurs to me that my grandfather might be asking me to break the law, because the law has a different word for pretending: fraud. And I have to be, and I have been to church enough to know that what fraud is in the Bible: bearing false witness. Lauren Page, my grandfather, is asking me to lie for him. If it were anyone else, I wouldn't even consider it. I could hear the gold wind-up clock ticking on the mantle. It feels too quiet this time of night. So I walk into the parlor and turn on Grandpa's TV. CNN, that's his channel. The news is bad, but the sound of it is good. If any of the people who live upstairs walk past the hallway door, it will sound like Lawrence, the landlord, is sitting in his easy chair, just like always. And so I tell my first lie for Grandpa. My cocoa and lemon cake have worn off. I go to the kitchen and fix myself a cheese omelet, and then I sit at the small dining table and eat. Omelet, toast, orange juice, milk, alone. Because being a classical musician isn't like sitting on the front porch playing the fiddle with a bunch of friends. It's more like a long hike on a lonely road. It's 95% solitary practice time, 2% instruction time, 2% rehearsal time, and 1% performance. Nothing is improvised. And if you're not a perfectionist, and if you don't like being on your own a lot, then you need to go and find yourself another road. So what she's saying is, because she plays the violin, a lot of times she is by herself. So she is used to being by herself, but this feels different because Grandpa is gone. And with such an intense schedule, there isn't a lot of opportunities for making friends or for meeting boys. There's just no time for that. At least not so far. Not for me, but maybe I'm making excuses for not trying harder. Because I notice guys, and I've been known to smile at one now and then. And I mean, I don't want to be on my own forever or living with my grandpa for the rest of my life. Not that that's any risk of that, but the thought brings back worries. And I have to push away the fears about Grandpa. And then I try to remember that what I ought to do next, right now, tonight. With Grandpa having trouble, it feels selfish to think about me, but I can't help it. I can't ignore what's going to happen in 5 days. I'm crashing toward the end of my senior year in high school. And this coming Tuesday, I have an audition at the Juilliard School. And then that next afternoon, an audition at Manhattan School of Music. And then 2 days later, I have to be at the New England Conservatory in Boston. There are other auditions in mid-March, like Juilliard, Manhattan, New England. Those are the big three, and they are soon. So she's worried because her grandfather is gone. It's Thursday. Next Tuesday, she has to go and play at these different locations, okay? She's playing at these different locations to get into these music schools. So she has to audition to get in, but there's no grandpa. The faculty members at these auditions won't want to hear me gush about how I've loved music since I was a little girl in the hills of West Virginia. They won't want me to tell them how I felt the first time I listened to Beethoven's Sixth Symphony, or how I woke up with melodies running through my head, and how thrilling it is to let the sounds in my mind rush across my fingertips and spray into the air the sounds of my violins. They won't want me to talk at all. They only want to hear me play. I have practiced my violin thousands and thousands times of hours during the past 10 years, and now my musical future depends on how well I play during these 3 auditions. 20 minutes each. And suddenly this new complication, more pressure, is not what I need. But it's Thursday night, and I force myself to stay positive. I tell myself that with grandpa away, things might actually be easier, because who's been doing all the shopping and a lot of the cooking for the past 6 months, and who gets herself up and off to school every day, and who sets her own schedule and puts herself to bed each night. Does anyone wait up if I'm late at the I can't even say it, Philharmonic, or when I get food with my friends after rehearsals? Grandpa hasn't been taking care of me, more like the other way around when he lets me. I have been mostly on my own in this city for a long time, and I've been worried about Grandpa for a long time too. I'll come in late from rehearsal, and he'll be under his fleece in that big recliner in front of the TV, looking so small and old. And I'll be afraid to shake him, afraid he won't wake up. I knock and I jump from my chair. A voice from the hallway. Are you there, Lawrence? It's me, Jason. I can't move, so someone's at the door. So she's in the house by herself, and someone knocks at the door. I can't move. A second knock. Lawrence? It's the tenant from the studio apartment at the back of the house on the 4th floor. I walk across the parlor, turn the deadbolt, and open the door 6 inches. Hi, Jason. Grandpa's in the bathroom. Can I give him a message? Lying shouldn't be this easy. Jason's about 30, short dark hair, brown eyes, stocky build, white t-shirt and jeans. He's been eating garlic. Yeah, sure, Gwen. Just tell him that the ceiling leak I told him about earlier, it stopped. Maybe iced up or something, but I'll be back. So he needs to get a roofer over here. That's all. And tell him I mailed the envelope for him. A pause, a big smile then. So how's the music business? Your grandpa, let me go back. Oh, the other way. Okay, there we go. Your grandpa's so proud. He tells me about you all the time. He says you've got auditions coming right up. I yell back, next week. Good luck, okay? Thanks. Jason turns and heads for the stairs, and I shut and lock the door. And I'm a little surprised because Grandpa doesn't seem like he's that proud of me or even paying much attention. Of course, it could be me. Maybe I'm the one who's not noticing things. A leak? That means a repairman. And I have to be here to let him in so he can get up to the roof, though. the metal lid at the end of the 4th floor hall. And I have to check over the work he does. And I have to pay him, all without Grandpa. And without letting on that Grandpa isn't here. But it's Thursday evening, and I force myself to stop thinking about this, about any of it. I walk downstairs and I go to the ground floor, turning on the lights as I go. I pick up my violin. The roof has a leak, and I need to deal with that. And Grandpa's gone, and I need to deal with that. But more than anything else, I need to practice Piaget. Caprice in B minor, number 2. And then Caprice 17, too. And then the rest of my pieces. I don't just need to get into a good school. I need to audition so well that people will want to give me a scholarship, pay me to come to their school. Free room and board here with Grandpa has been a godsend, but I know it's temporary. Same as my scholarship at Latham. If I want to keep going forward, I need to make my own way. I walk downstairs to the basement, open the door to my rehearsal room, flip the light switch, and shut myself in. I unzip the case and take out my violin. It's not actually mine. My own violin is in the basement closet. I've been told it would make a good kittling. This violin in my hands is on loan from the school, provided to a promising student, which means loan to a kid whose parents can't send $20,000 or $30,000 for a good instrument. So she has 2 violins. She has one that's really, really old, and she has one that they have allowed her to use, okay? Any questions so far? Let me see how far we got. I think this be, and we stop right here for tonight. Kindling Bosch. Nope. Let me go back. All right. So because it's almost 8:30, we are going to stop on this page. We're going to stop right, let's see. I'll put a mark right there. All right. So we're going to stop here tonight. We're on page 18, and we will start right back here because I know it's a school night. So we've been online for an hour and a half. Are there any questions so far? And I'm going to stop sharing. Any questions? Okay, Merle had to leave.
No.
Okay, before you go, let me give you
No.
the link. Let me get the link. And again, if you can, so in the chat, I have put the link. So let me share the screen one more time. If you came late, what I need for you to do is fill out this form, put your first and last name, your address. So put your street address, your city and state, your phone number, tell me your language, and then click right here when you're done. Excuse me, when you're done, and you will do a very short quiz so that I can assess your English language proficiency, okay? When you do that, later on this week, probably Thursday or Friday, I will mail off your book once this is done, okay? Are there any questions? Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much for joining. We will meet again on next Tuesday it'll probably be 7:30 versus 7, but I'll send you a text message, okay?
Okay.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. See you next week.
Yes, see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you, Laura, Miss Roxanne, Claudia, Manuel, and Leonor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you next week.
Thank you.
You're welcome.